Hi, I'm Jim Dodson. I'm a Florida injury lawyer, and I'm known as the Florida Bike Guy. So, picking the right lawyer after a bicycle crash in Florida. Here's some things that I think are important that anyone looking for a lawyer after a bike crash should consider. At least look at these things because I think they'll shed light on your choice. The first one is the lawyer an active cyclist? I think the most common comment we receive in our practice from our clients is how comfortable they feel working with a lawyer who's an active cyclist because he gets the sport and he gets them, why they ride, why it's important to them. Um, Understanding the joy of riding, understand why it compels people to ride every day, why someone would consider riding 50 miles a week or 100 miles a week or 150 miles a week. Why would they do that? How important is it to them? And what does it mean to lose the ability to do that? That all has to be conveyed to a claims adjuster in appropriate cases. It's loss of their ability to do that temporarily, or in the worst cases, even permanently, is a huge part of anyone's claim who's been injured on the bike. And is the lawyer not only an active cyclist? Is this person, he or she, committed to helping Florida cyclists get the best result, but get the best do the best for cycling at the same time? Where is their commitment level? Or you're dealing with someone who just has a practice and they have a big advertising budget and they just throw a big net saying, in addition to car crashes and all the other things they do, they also represent cyclists, but they don't know anything about a bicycle. I think that's a very important thing in terms of probably getting the most comfortable feeling when you walk into or talk to a lawyer who's going to represent you on your case, is knowing that they know what it means to you to ride and to lose the ability to ride even temporarily, and how they get convey that effectively to someone. And then from a practical standpoint, I can tell you in our practice, so many situations have come up where a claims adjuster who is not a cyclist would say, well, I think the cyclist should have done this, or they may be at fault. And I could recount number of situations. I had a conversation just last week. My client's riding the bike lane, and the adjuster suggested when their driver right hooked him, that he should have been watching out and should have slowed down. The cyclist who's in the bike lane and had the right of way. And I was like, I'd explained to this person what it means to be in the bike lane and why they're required to be in the bike lane, and have that is their designated lane. And you can't right hook somebody in the bike lane when you're driving a car just because you're impatient or you're not watching carefully. We've had situations where witnesses have gotten to an accident confused in their mind about what happened. And because of our experience as a cyclist, we can explain that situation, that explanation the witness gave made no sense. It couldn't have happened that way. There's a number of times that happens frequently where, because of the experience of the cyclist, they can clarify or challenge or explain why something didn't happen the way the adjuster would like to believe that it did. It simply would never have occurred that way in the real world on a bike on the road. So those are important factors. I think another thing is, are you dealing with somebody who understands what it means to get your bike repaired or replaced after a cycling crash? Most lawyers who are doing injury work, they're going to see a lot of car accident cases and not very many bike cases unless they really specialize in cycling. And getting a bike replaced after a bike crash is not like having two insurance companies get a car replaced or get a car repaired. What is the response when a bike hits the ground at 17 or 18 miles an hour? They're not finding any structural damage to the bike. Should the bike frame be replaced? Well, if your lawyer is a cyclist and understands the dynamics of a crash, particularly with a carbon frame, that bike frame should be replaced in most situations. Does your lawyer understand that? Does your lawyer understand how to get that done? What questions to ask to make sure that that does happen, or put you in the best position to make that happen? What kind of proof do you need to get your computer and your shoes and your gear and your helmet? What kind of proof do you need to get all that stuff replaced after a crash? Are they going to repair the bike or replace the bike? These are all things that experienced road riding cycling lawyer understands that a person who only represents car crash victims day in and day out just simply doesn't have the opportunity to be exposed to these issues very often. What about, I think another powerful way to check a lawyer's background and determine if they're good for you is, are there testimonials on their website? Are you listening? Do you have the opportunity to watch and listen to an actual bike client talk about their relationship with that lawyer in the law firm? Are there Google reviews? What are they saying? Or how high are they being rated? These are all very important to get firsthand observations of what actual clients think about that lawyer. And you want to go to the actual source if you can, not filter it through the lawyer's marketing department. I think another big consideration is whether the lawyer is simply in it to get cases. This is just simply a business for throwing a big net, getting as many cases as they can along with their auto cases. Or is this lawyer committed to cycling safety? Are they a safety advocate? Are they writing? Are they publishing? Are they speaking about biking issues and about safety and how cyclists can remain safe and avoid crashes? Because I think that'll tell you an awful lot about that lawyer's commitment to you as a client and to the sport of cycling in general. I think that's important, would be important to you. How is the lawyer viewed by their peers? We have several well-respected rating agencies that evaluate lawyers independently. The first one is martindale.com. It actually solicits information from other lawyers in the community and judges about a lawyer's ethics and abilities. And the highest rating that Martindale awards is an AV rating. That means the highest rating for legal ability and ethics. And you definitely want to look for an AV rated lawyer by their peers. There's also ABO, ABBO.com. ABO has its own rating system. It's done internally by ABO. The highest rating a lawyer can get is a 10.0. They use a number of factors to accumulate those points. And you definitely would like to get a 10.0 rated lawyer on ABO. There's also like $1 Million Advocates Forum for lawyers who've had cases over $1 million. Definitely shows what level they operate in. And so these are probably the most prominent lawyer rating services that you can look to sort of independently to get an idea of what the lawyer's like. I think it's important to remember too, who you're going to deal with in the lawyer's office. Advertising firms, you don't know who the lawyer is that you might deal with. You don't know who the staff will be that you're going to deal with. It's very disconcerting as a client to make a call to a lawyer's office that you don't know anything about them. Talk to a person today, start with that person, and then 3 months down the road, that person's gone, the assistant is gone, it's a new person handling your case. It's a very disconcerting experience. You want to know, who are you working with? How long has that team worked together? How stable is that team? And will they be there for you when you need them? At the end of the day, I think you need to be able to sit and look directly at the lawyer, whether you meet by Zoom or talk over the phone or whatever, to have a sense in your heart that person understands you and is going to work and do the very best they can for you, that you trust them to do the very best they can in your situation. I can tell you that as a practicing cyclist myself and as a lawyer, there are a number of situations that have come up that only because of my cycling experience was I able to totally overcome a position taken by an insurance company or prove that something a police officer concluded from a police investigation did not happen, could not have happened, would never have happened, simply by putting together the facts from the perspective of the cyclist to demonstrate the only logical explanation would be what the cyclist is saying all along. We've had that many, many times. I had a conversation with a claims adjuster recently where my client was riding in the bike lane. Car came up on the left side in traffic, wanted to turn right at an intersection, turned immediately across my client. And the adjuster suggested to me that there was a component of comparative fault on my client for riding in the bike lane and not slowing down to let the car pass in front of him. But I didn't appreciate them taking that position because it's flat wrong. And I was able to demonstrate very specifically that they were wrong, and that the bicyclists had every right and obligation to be where they were, and total responsibility for that maneuver fell on the driver. So there's a number of things that come up in our practice constantly where, as a cyclist, I think another thing is like putting into words what it means to not be able to ride. Why is it that a cyclist would want to ride 50 miles a week or 100 miles a week or 150 miles a week? Communicating that to a claims adjuster who probably doesn't ride a bicycle at all, may or may not be an exerciser at all, and articulating that passion and that loss when a rider cannot do that, and trying to convey to a claims adjuster what that means in terms of the quality of life. I think another thing is probably one of the most common injuries we see in our cycling practice is concussions. And how frequently, it's almost not every cycling crash, but very, very commonly in a cycling crash, someone ends up with a concussion. How frequently does the lawyer deal with concussions? How much do they understand about it? How much writing do they do about it? How are they able to communicate the effect of a concussion on the life of the person who's been affected and put that into the terms that a claims adjuster will understand? That's a very big thing. Most of the common injuries that auto accident lawyers see are whiplash cases. The vast majority of auto injury cases tend to be soft tissue neck and back issues associated with whiplash. We don't see whiplash cases as such in the cycling world. We see shoulder fractures and hip fractures and collarbone fractures and concussions and those types of things. So this is not a whiplash type of injury practice. These injuries tend to be much more serious and really, quite frankly, a higher dollar value because of the serious nature of the injuries that are involved. And those things go into a great deal to affect how a claim is handled, and affects the settlement value of the cyclist case, understanding the full impact of an injury. How will the cyclist be affected in future? Does this lawyer understand the effects of post-traumatic arthritis in a joint injury? And will this lawyer take the steps to reach out to the doctor to confirm whether that has occurred, or to a life care planner to find out how that will affect this person over the course of their lifetime? These are all part of the claims process. They're all part of the things that a lawyer has a responsibility to do. And many of these things are unique to cycling cases in the sense of their frequency, because so many of the injuries you see in cycling affect the joint. And you can have post-traumatic arthritis in the joint 6 months down the road after your case is healed and settled. The clients now develop post-traumatic arthritis, which can be more significant in their life and their quality of life than the initial injury. Does a lawyer understand that? Do they deal with that? Do they talk to the doctor about that? Do they talk to a life care planner about what that means over the course of their lifetime? So these are just some of the things that, to me, are important when you're trying to evaluate who's the right lawyer for you in a cycling case. And I wish you the best out there. Stay safe. I'm Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy.